I give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Благодарю.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to thank today's briefers. We carefully listened to the report of the High Representative and once again have to note that the information therein, just as the information in the Security Council report, does not give an objective and balanced picture of what is happening in the country. There is chronic bias against the Bosnian Serbs and Croats, upon whose leaders the High Representative unjustifiably wants to place all blame for the difficulties the country is facing. The report just makes passing mention of the correct idea that the main source of all of the Bosnian problems is the serious disagreements on further development for the state of BiH between the three parties of Bosniak Serbs and the Croats. In such circumstances, the efforts of the OHR should be focused on expanding the culture of dialogue, on providing, if necessary, good services to deal with difficult moments between the different Bosnian groups. Instead of this, practically all energy, time and resources of the OHR are going to attempts to justify and saying that the Bosnian Serbs and Croats have anti-Dayton and giving them those labels. We cannot, in this regard, fail to note that both the member of the Presidium of BiH, Mr. Dodik, and the president of the party, Croat Democratic Cooperation, Mr. Jovic, have constantly publicly stated their commitment to the peace agreement and regularly confirm this in practice. It is important to be always guided by the Dayton principles of the equality of the three constituent peoples and the provision to the two entities of broad management powers to have dialogue with Bosnian partners respectfully and correctly. We're concerned by the discussions in the report about the so-called step back in terms of the approving of the Peace Implementation Council Steering Board 5+2 plan. This contains efforts for drawing down the OHR. Given all the difficulties of the current situation in the country, this interpretation is one we do not share. Really, we're talking about finding artificial arguments for keeping the International Protectorate in BiH, which has outlived its use. In this regard, we urge colleagues in the Security Council and the Steering Committee to step up, pushing for the closing down of the Office of the High Representative. We have a positive example of this. This is the Brčko district in BiH. This has been normally functioning since 2012, when the Steering Board supported the decision to freeze activity of the international supervisor in this region. We draw attention to the real need for the High Representative to stick to his mandate. Mr. Insko is not supposed to be involved in lobbying for European and Euro-Atlantic integration of Sarajevo. Much is mentioned here in the report, and we have mentioned this on numerous occasions. This was something that the new head of the OSCE mission in BiH was engaged in, organizing a seminar where the swift integration into NATO was put forward. One has the impression that BiH has nothing else to do apart from join NATO. There is a twist of fate, but the European agenda has actually been pushed back. Surely it's clear that the country is lacking consensus here. We consider it's unacceptable to ignore the principle of the consensus for adopting decisions by the Presidium of BiH in the area of foreign policies. I'd like to say a few words about the independent mission to investigate the crimes committed by all peoples in Srebrenica and against the Serbs in Sarajevo. And I'd like to say a few words about that. This seems to be demonized by the High Representative. We believe that its formation is because of shortcomings in the ICTY and the international residual mechanism. And Russia frequently talks about its serious concerns regarding this. The outcome of the commissions are called to shed light on a whole number of terrible crimes which, for some reason, were not addressed by the ICTY. I'd like to take this opportunity to urge all members of the Council to read the Republika Srpska government report on the situation on BiH BIH. It contains important information on this topic. We are continuing to do all we can to ensure that the Serbs, Croats and Bosniaks solve all of the problems in BIH together, based on data and in a balanced way that the postulate thereof is the equality of the three constituent bodies. It is important to present all interests of the people. Such assurances were given, for example, to Mr. Medvedev, the Prime Minister, as he met with the Presidium head, Mr. Dodik, in Belgrade on the 19th of October. We are prepared for mutually acceptable cooperation with the representatives of all political parties. We hope that our work with the Bosnians will help to push forward post-conflict settlement and promote social and economic development, and will maintain cultural diversity in BIH and in the Balkans as a whole. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for his statement.